Hello, everybody. I appreciate you coming out tonight. I'm very excited for our meeting. We have Gayle Mack with us. We have Alan Steinfeld. We also have Mary Harding, and we're going to be talking about our light bodies. Gayle has had a very unique experience, and it just so happened that Alan was there when she had it and had it all recorded. So we have a really great presentation for you tonight. I guess I've known Gayle for about 5 years, and Gayle and I have stayed in communication. She actually was a contributor to my book, Walk-ins, The Cosmology of the Soul. And Gayle is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful gifted channeler. She works with the high divine Sophia energies, and I'm sure she's going to tell you all about that a little bit later. But right now, we're going to go ahead and go into a grounding meditation. So Gayle, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. And when you finish the meditation, we'll go ahead and go straight into your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks so much.
Okay, so everyone take a couple deep, slow breaths. And as you exhale any frustration of the day. Inhale divine I am love. And as we're connecting to the heart, we're also grounding our energy. And here I'm in this moment in Sedona, so we can ground our energy into the beautiful red rocks. And as you inhale, raise your frequency and your love up to the greatest and highest good, on up to the ionosphere, up to the heavens. Again, as you inhale and exhale, connect to the heart energy. Allow the energy from the heart to awaken the different chakras, all the chakras in your body, and those connected to the ground and those connected to the multidimensional layers above. Breathe in unconditional love. Exhale all that no longer serves you. You can call in your guardians and guides for the greatest and highest good. And we always work for the greatest good and harm to none. Allow unconditional love to permeate your cells, your souls, the essence of your being. And as you exhale and walk through life, be the best that you can be and shine bright. Continue to breathe. And we connect to each other's hearts, becoming one heart, one love, one energy, divine being. Mm. We're connected in the heart. And Sheila, whenever you feel it's ready.
Thank you so much, Gayle. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, as I shared with you guys, we're going to hear a wonderful presentation by Gayle Mack tonight. Gayle has had a very unique experience where she actually transformed into her light body. And so, Gayle, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you now. And I know we're all in for a treat. So, thank you very much.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. So I'm going to start with sharing my experience, and then I'm going to move into a little presentation with the PowerPoint. So as Sheila mentioned, in '93, I went to Egypt, and I knew with all of my being that I was supposed to be in Egypt. And I have, since a child, been fascinated with Egypt and fascinated with becoming my light body and levitating. So I knew that this was my divine guidance. Then I had a healing center, and I had someone come speak, and they were going to Egypt. And I said, "Oh, I would love to go." And she said, "Come on." And I knew I was supposed to go. And I knew Isis was going to come to me sometime at her temple. So we get to the Isis temple, and we're creating the ceremony. And in the beginning, I was not given a place to hold space. And so my ego got a little bit in the way. And I said, "Oh, Isis is supposed to come to me. And I wasn't chosen to anchor energy in here." And my friend that was with me laughed at me, and he said, "Just cool your jets. Divine comes to you, whether you're holding a sacred spot or whether you're just being present." And then I caught myself, and I started laughing, and I said, "Oh, well, okay, let's toss the ego out of there." So when you're trying to become your light body, I'm here to tell you, ego, there's no place for ego when you're trying to be your light body. So as soon as I laughed at myself and I let it go, then the person who was putting on the event said, "Gayle, you're supposed to go stand at the main altar." So to get to the main altar from where we stepped into the room that was Osiris's bedroom that was um, next to the main temple. So I stepped into the darkness, and I said, "I drop who I have become and I step into who I am." And then I walked through the darkness into the temple, and I stopped at the dolmen in the center of the temple space, and I had nothing to offer. So I took my saliva, my DNA, and I laid it across the top, and I said, "I'm here to serve. How do you wish to come through me for the greatest and highest good?" So I heard to take a stance. So it's like my hands up in the air and my feet shoulder width apart. And when I picked my head up, this energy came through the top of my head, down through my body. And those who know me, I'm not a sweater. So I started sweating with this energy that was coming through me, and so much that water was dripping off my elbows. It was running down my legs. The concrete was wet around my feet. And I thought my knees were going to melt off my legs from my knees down. And I heard Divine say, "Open the chakras in your soul." So when I opened the chakras, just that fast of thinking about it, the energy went to the core of the earth, then bounced back up, and it was this constant up and down flow. And I just went into this bliss, and I was in such a state of enjoyment. And I just happened to look at my hands, and I noticed that my hands were mother of pearl in iridescent. And I was so fascinated with my hands that I forgot to I forgot we were in ceremony, and then I hear somebody go, and I thought, oh gosh, you're looking to me for guidance. I don't know what to, and I heard, shh, and Divine Isis stepped in through me on my left side. She stepped in and she started speaking to this woman who I did not know. And she started speaking to her and gave her her message and asked her to go stand in the one corner. Then a gentleman came in. She called him by name, told him when he awakened to the divine sacred feminine and asked him to stand in the opposite corner. Then a woman came in. She was put in another corner, and another man came in. So we were um, alternating in the corners, man, woman, um, man, woman. There we go. So what we were doing at the Temple of Isis, it was moved to the Isle of Philae. So during this time that we were in activation, we were pulling the etheric temple over the physical temple and reconnecting them. So those that came in at the beginning, that were the four corners, they were anchoring the space. And then the rest of the people came in and we anchored that over. And as we were pulling that energy and we connected that temple, then my body, the frequency in my body became even more intense. And that's when the full light body experience happened. And right in the middle of our ceremony, we had 3 busloads of tourists come in. We had French, German, and Japanese. And so we just held space while these people came through and took their, excuse me, took their pictures. And so I held the space in that anchoring for almost 2 hours during that time. During the time that I was becoming my light body, I have to say, it was the most exhilarating experience that I had felt, and truly in an unconditional loving space. Prior to becoming my light body, we had been doing ceremony, and each of the temples that we went to along the Nile were represented each of the chakras. So we were actually, in essence, clearing ourselves until we got to the Temple of Isis. So having become my light body, when we finished the ceremony for 3 days, I did not leave footprints in the sand. People would walk next to me and I would be walking with them, and you would see their footprints, but not mine. So it reminded me that when you're in that higher frequency and you elevate, then you really bring harm to none. Later on in our travels, then it was time for us at the Great Pyramid. Then it was my turn to lay in the sarcophagus. So when I laid in the sarcophagus, I thought, well, I became my light body once already, I can do it again. And so I'm laying in the sarcophagus and I called in my light body. And I don't know if you heard that airplane, but yep, I'm by the airport. Okay, so in the sarcophagus, I called in my light body and I saw the light come down to my waist. And I said, I am in ceremony, I am in initiation, and I can become my light body. I did it once, I can do it again. The light came through my body, and the last thing I saw were my feet go bloop. And then I was out in the imperishable stars. I was in a realm where there was no movement, but it was kinetic. So I knew where my body was, and there were different souls, and they were all speaking at one time, but I heard them all individually. And in that time, then I started to notice little stars that were appearing. And the stars were souls that were being manifesting into birth, into creation. So a little pinprick of light would come up, and then as they got brighter, then they would start to fall. And I was informed that they were being birthed into physical form. So during this time, it was such a beautiful state. It was equally as dark as it was light. And I saw a cord at my navel. Even though I didn't see my physical body, I knew it was attached to my navel, and it was attached to this itty bitty square of light way, way off in the distance. So I'm flipping it around and I said, oh, this is what Shirley MacLaine was talking about in Out on a Limb. And then I heard someone say, oh, I think she's dead. And so I looked down at that little square of light and I said, who's dead? She's not breathing. Me? I'm not dead. I'm just out. Oh. And then as my attention went to that little square and I'm having this conversation with whoever's thinking that I was dead, I started moving really rapidly, fast towards that little square of light. And as I moved and got closer, then the square of light came. I heard this crash like thunder striking. And then my eyes were open. I'm in the sarcophagus. And this woman who was the Sharula, who was the presenter of the event, was sitting on me trying to make me breathe. But I couldn't respond. And she's giving me mouth to mouth. She's patting my face. And I'm having this whole conversation. Oh, for Pete's sakes. So finally, when the noise and the crash and the crackle finished, I took a breath. And for the longest time, I thought Alan, who had been filming us, had fallen onto a grate, and that's what the crash was. But I later discovered, when I spoke with Alan years later, that he didn't fall on the grate, that sound was my light body condensing back into the physical form. So then as I took my breath and I said, Sharula, why are you sitting on me? And she said, because you weren't breathing. And I said, of course I was breathing. And the fella I was with, he shook his head and he said, no, you haven't taken a breath for 23 minutes. But for me, it seemed like I was out for maybe 5-10 seconds. 23 minutes had gone by. So I went to get up and the temple guard took my hand. I'm running energy, sorry. The temple guard took my hand and he stepped me out, helped me out of the sarcophagus. And I was buzzing, just zzz, and you could hear the hissing and the frequency moving in my body. You can feel it. So he immediately came around and went to prostrate down on the floor. And then he put my hand on the top of his head. And when he was full, he stood next to me and all the temple guards came up and received a blessing because I was still vibrating. And then when all the temple guards were finished with their blessing, then he looked at the people and he said, now your turn, but hurry up because we have many people trying to get in here. So they held back until everybody was able to share the frequency and the light. And then again, for 3 more days, I didn't leave footprints in the sand. So I'm here to tell you that it is possible to become your light body because I did it and I've done it before. And it really helps to be in a state of unconditional love. It's the fastest way to get there. And then I'm going to show you in my presentation some of the things that happen to me and how you can access. Because me just saying I became unconditional, I came into a state of unconditional love doesn't really help anybody in that process of becoming your light body.
Did you have noticeable and lasting changes after you came back and integrated after the 3 days of you saying not having the footprints? What happened after that?
So it shifted my consciousness that you can truly do anything you put your mind to. So it wasn't just something that someone made up in a story. And so, yes, I had a change where, for me, I could not go back to just living life and just existing in life. It shifted my whole purpose and what I did in life. I was a hairdresser at the time. So I switched that because my purpose became showing, if I can do this, anybody can. So, and then I had to explain how I did it, because just saying I had moved into unconditional love didn't help people become their light body. The other thing is that my intuition really, really heightened, and I would go through I would look at the phone and I'd say, "Oh, Sherry's calling. Would you pick that up?" And so before the phone would ring, I would know who was calling. I would go to the door and open the door before the people came to my office or came into my home. I just knew things. I would walk past somebody and information would come into my mind. And then I had to learn how to know when to know what came in to my mind and when to share what came into my mind, because not everybody wants to hear what you have to say when stuff pops in. So, yes.
Have you become your light body since that experience in Egypt? And if so, how many times, or can you even count?
Yeah. So there have been at least 5 times being with a group of people in Banff, Canada during the time of Michael's conclave. I again, in ceremony, became my light body, and that was witnessed by a lot of people. And I apologized to the fellow that I was partnered with. We were doing initiations, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I blipped out on you. I don't know where I went." And he's smiling, and just the tears were running down his face. And he said, "Oh my gosh, you became a column of light." So I wasn't even my body. I was just a straight column of light. And what brought me back is, it was with the same people I was in Egypt with. What brought me back is that they were saying on the microphone, "There are more priests and priestesses available to give you initiation. You don't have to get in the same line." And we had about 300 people. And then when Eric pointed out, I looked out, and all these people were standing in our line, and we had like 4 or 5 other groups that were initiating into the Melchizedek order. And because when I became my light body, then of course, everybody wanted to come into my line and get initiated by the priestess who was light. So, and then there's just been times where I'm at sacred spaces and or creating sacred space wherever I am and doing ceremony. I have become light several times since I had a head injury too, and I asked God to show me how to heal my head injury. That was in 2013. And that's when he gave me the spiral breath breathing technique. And that's on a book that I wrote because people kept asking me to share my experience. But it was during that time when he gave me the breathing technique and I reconnected my brain that I again became my light body. And sometimes I become bright emerald green, and sometimes it's mother of pearl. Sometimes it's white and golden shimmery. So it varies, I guess, between what I'm doing and the frequency of what I'm asking for in my healing or in the sacred space where I'm at. So you don't have to be at a sacred space or in high ceremony to become your light body. You really just have to move into a state of unconditional love and believing. So I'm here to tell you, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Thank you, Gayle.
You're
That was
welcome.
amazing. That's amazing.
It is. And I tell you, there are no words to explain how that feels. because bliss and amazing and joyous, they're so minuscule compared to that experience. And it's just one of those things that when you experience it, you know it, and then
Yeah.
and you recognize it in other people.
Have you discovered anything in your lineage or in your, soul path, or like why it activated in you the way that it did? Like, have you discovered like how that connects to the work that you're supposed to do here, or who you're connected with in like the great story of things? Like you mentioned the Melchizedek order, which I think is amazing. I don't know anything about them, but I'm starting to learn about the Melchizedeks. Like, do you know where you come from and why you brought this particular capacity forth?
Well, I come from a long line in this lifetime. I come from a long line of Hungarian gypsies, but my grandma said that I was born open, and when I was a child, I was healing with my hands, so I was a little different. I used to call myself an odd duck, and I'm good at saying that I'm an odd duck because those who know me well, I am a bit different than most mainstream people. But I just had a connection to nature, and the angels would share with me from wee bit from the time I was 3. I would be sharing and going to people and saying, your angel asked me to share such and such with you. My mom used to come home at lunch with the female workers, co-workers, and they would sit when I was 6, and they would sit me at the head of the table and ask me questions, and I would channel answers for them. So that was a big thing for lunch. I came in open, but I truly don't believe that there's anything special about me except that I was open, and I was blessed to have the grandparents that I had, because I came from a lineage of hands-on and herbal healers, and my grandparents recognized what I was doing. And other people that have that stayed open, and all children are open. They're all open when they're born. It's when they go to school and then they're slowed down, because children learn at the speed of light. And when you go to school, they teach you to read. See, Dick, run. So a child recognizes and learns at the speed of light. So if you keep them open, then and you don't tell them with their imaginary friends that they have to stop seeing their imaginary friends. I was just blessed that my grandparents took me out and we listened to the wind. What did the wind say? Is that a dragonfly or a fairy? And is that a water sprite? So they schooled me in their knowledge. So I had that difference than other people. But structurally, I am the same makeup as everybody else. It's in our DNA, which I'm going to show you in my presentation, that we are all the same, and we all hold the frequency, and we are all in the image of divine. I awakened to that early, and I knew that that was a possibility, and I strove to achieve it. I saw it in my dream time, and when the opportunity came, I took it, and now I'm sharing my experience. Most of them I didn't know. So by calling them by name, that was truly Isis that was speaking through me.
And I didn't notice you. I guess we must have spent like 2 or 3 days before we got to the Temple of Isis, right? And
Right.
I had not seen you anywhere on that trip before. And suddenly Gayle's there being Isis. And I couldn't help notice that, wow, this feels a lot like the priestess of the temple. And, then I hadn't seen you for 30 years, and I met you last year. Was it last year?
Oh, no,
Mount
it's
Shasta?
been about 5 years since we
Right.
reconnected.
But when I first saw you again after whatever that was, 30 something years, because it was 91, we were in Egypt.
All right,
That I
91.
know. And then, so I knew that voice because it's so distinctive, that voice. But I knew you, but, and from like a really deep old place. It was almost like a past life in a way it was. Because when I was filming here, I turned around and saw you kind of channeling Isis, like it just made an imprint in my mind.
Yes.
So this is us. The Temple of Isis has an outer chamber and an inner chamber. And we started this intense meditation in the outer chamber to kind of raise the vibration. Anything you want to say about the outer chamber there?
So again, the person that was holding the space at the outer chamber to the inner chamber, they, when they heard me say, I drop who I have become and I step into who I am, she had everybody say that as they went through, which was very, very powerful. And you'll see in this clip, people going in to Osiris's, into the bedroom, into that dark space as they go into the temple. And then it
Right.
jumps in, I believe it jumps back into where we're in the main altar room, and we're pulling the etheric temple over and connecting it into the physical temple.
Right. And you talked about how the temple was moved, right, from one location, but our mission was to move the energetics of where it was probably for a couple of thousand years until
Yes.
they flooded
So
the,
they
yeah.
flooded the Aswan. They built a dam and
Mhm.
they flooded the Aswan River. So it was the Aswan Dam. And then
Right.
years, many years later, archaeologists took down the Temple of Isis and reassembled it on dry land, which is now on Philae.
Yeah.
And then
The
the
island of
etheric
Philae.
temple was still over the body of water. So we reconnected it. That was our purpose.
That was our purpose. And here we are in the outer chamber. Oh, there's Gayle.
Oh, there's me.
There, this is Gayle, and she looks exactly the same. And you looked over
Except I have
because
curly
this,
hair now, go figure.
wait, let me start here. This, here we go. We're starting the chant. And it builds, the energy was building. This woman was always painting in the temple. That's when I first noticed Gayle. She's initiating the transfer of energy there. She actually becomes a hieroglyphic herself.
Horus was born through Isis. Allow yourself, your higher self, your Christic self, to be reborn through you and through the temple which represents Isis. One by one, please enter the birth tunnel. On the other end, allow you to be you. Not who you think you are, but you, who you really are. As a small child, as it was said, you cannot find the kingdom of heaven unless you become as a small child, and unless you are born again of spirit. Being born again of spirit decides that you will allow spirit to guide your life, and you will be guided by the inner rather than the outer. Within this, we break the 666 code, which is operating outside in, reversing it to the divine coding of 999, which is functioning inside out.
Energy that was flowing through me was very, very intense. There were people that were coming up that were making eye contact with me, and messages were being given to them telepathically, and I could hear myself thinking like in the background, and then the thoughts that were being communicated were like coming through and just coming through the eyes, and it really wasn't me, but I was present, and then the thoughts that were being communicated were like acknowledgments of their hard work, areas in which they were going to go forth and work, and how they were going to spread the word of the mother, and just intense love. It felt like these people were all my children. I truly felt connected to everybody in that room. It was just a very peaceful, radiant energy and powerful presence, but it was very loving.
Isis veiled, Isis unveiled, we open thee your temple. We offer ourselves as anchors. We ask that this temple be made whole again. In the name of the Melchizedek. Ye grounded.
Well, it's okay. Well, just complete it. It was powerful. Just why I was starting to have tears. Isn't that still hold that energy?
Yeah.
All right, I'll just finish this up. This is the end. So here we go.
To teach the world to sing in perfect harmony.
I forgot about that too.
Right, that's the part that should have come out.
And keep them company. I'd like to build the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apples and honeybees and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to see the world always all standing hand in hand with a rose in every home and peace throughout the land. It's the sound I hear, and I'm here to say what the world wants today is the real thing.
That was awesome. Thank
Thank you,
so
Alan.
much. And
I know.
for those of you who have
It
joined
still
us
brings
late,
back the feelings to me, brings back the
With
whole
Gayle Mack.
energetics of the experience. What we,
and so we're with Gayle
Um,
Mack and Alan Steinfeld with New Realities. And you can check. Do you still have this video up on New Realities?
yeah, it's up on YouTube for free.
YouTube?
Just
Oh,
go.
sweet. I do.
Yes, we've gotten hundreds of views on it. So I do have the other video of us in the Great Pyramid too. I have to post that, Gayle.
Okay.
What did you feel watching that after all these years?
I got, my heart swelled again with that beautiful love and seeing the faces and the friendships that came out of that I still have with many. And like you said, taking us right back to that time and picking up that energy. And I'm not cold anymore because I started channeling that heat energy as we were bringing over. And you can see that my face was shiny and wet as from moving. It really took a lot of energy to move that etheric temple over to above the physical temple. And it really was, and you could see in the beginning when our hands were kind of, let's see, I'll do it this way. we were pulling the energy over. So we were actually pulling that ceiling, the floor over above. And when it connected, then the energy was really intense. And then people started singing. It was just,
Yes, a lot of people are having some, it wasn't planned. Any of that was not planned. And it was a lot of Kundalini energy in that temple of Isis. And I've been talking to Neil Gar, Portal to Ascension, about going back to Egypt on a tour. Maybe you should come, Gayle, and
oh yeah, sure. I'm in.
reenact the Isis tradition. And maybe, I mean, everyone's invited. We're planning that out probably 2023. Phil's been to Egypt too. So anyway, I also want to say you were holding the energy of that space. You were channeling it through you. And I would look in your eyes and there was a higher energy coming through you at that point.
Mm.
So was that the beginning of this channeling transformation you went through?
I was already channeling. It just took it to a greater level.
Great. No, I'm happy to. I mean, I'm happy, it took a lot of editing. I thought, who's going to really see this except for the people on the trip? Is like home movies, but but it took me a lot of time to find all those Egyptian inserts, and I was doing it VHS to VHS. I mean, it was just very primitive back then. So I'm happy it still lives on, that piece.
Thank you very
We're
much.
going to show the other part of it sometime. Thank you,
Okay.
Gayle, for being you.
And thank you for being there. That
Thanks.
was nice.
And
Here with Gayle Mack and Alan Steinfeld with New Realities. He's the host of New Realities. There's tons of phenomenal video footage that he has up and countless numbers of interviews. But also, Alan, you've just written a new book that's getting ready to come out. You want to tell us about it real briefly before Gayle goes into the second part of her presentation?
to do with everything since Egypt, and Phil Gruber's a big inspiration for me. And I'm happy Phil is here, and Gayle. So after, well, I guess it was before there, I had a UFO experience in 1987, and I was obsessed with all things UFO. Are we okay up here?
Well, we're about to,
Oh, what?
yeah, so maybe you'd like
Oh,
to go on a room.
okay. Anyway, I'm just here at this little gathering. So anyway, I started following the whole UFO situation and went to all the conferences. So let me just show you, I put that all together in a new book that is coming out. And it's called, and anyone can order it. If you pre-order it, we can make it a bestseller on Amazon. It's Making Contact, Preparing for the New Realities of Extraterrestrial Existence. And it's a collection of essays. Let me just show you. And by some of the best people in the field. So it's all about shifting consciousness. It's not about little green men or gray men visiting us from another planet. It's about how we're going to activate the higher realms to meet the others as equals, as sentient beings on a level playing field. So I got all these great names: John Mack, Whitley, Strieber, Linda Moulton Howe, Darryl Anka, Joanne Cameron, JJ and Desiree Hurtak, Carolyn Cory, Marie Rodwell, this is my friend Henrietta Weekes, me, and George Noory doing the introduction. So I'll put the link in the chat. And someone told me, a marketer says, you should have your friends buy 3 books. That this way they keep one, they give one to their family, and they give one to all those people that were never considering UFOs as a possibility. And, this book will change their mind. So if you're inspired, it's kind of pushy, but if you're inspired, buy 3 books or buy 1 or buy none, don't buy, I mean, whatever you want, it's all good. But Thank you. And we're going to be doing some more UFO ET programs, right, Sheila?
Yes.
Did you tell them about the hybrid conference coming up?
Not yet. I was going to tell him at the end. Do you want to go ahead since you've mentioned it?
Well, we did an incredible conference this, I guess, when was that? November, about the walk-in?
January.
Early January, right. And it was 3 days, and there was so much information from the higher realms, and it was a real success. We really opened up people to the idea of what a walk-in is, and Sheila's written a book about it. Gayle's in that book. So we wanted to take it to another level and talk to people who were hybrid human ETs and gather that together, because when we do these conferences, people are activated. Just like that trip to Egypt, people were activated on that trip, and they were never the same again, in a good way, in a very good way. So these conferences, Sheila, I, and Phil, and Neil are doing is to activate people to their next level of awakening. And that's what we're all here to do. So that's the part I have to say.
And so
I haven't
June
I haven't started
19th
my
and
presentation
20th.
yet. So
Right.
So
I
you
know.
could go
You
ahead
wanna,
and mark
you can
that
sit here if
down.
you want,
We're trying to get the
or you can come
flyer
back.
together so we can go ahead and get it up on Portal to Ascension.
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay. We heard you whispering,
I
Gayle.
think
It's
so.
okay.
Can you, oh, Mary just came in. So can you put it
Oh.
on the floor, Mary? Okay.
Okay. So thank you, Sheila and Gayle,
Thank
for
you.
letting me be part of this gathering. And Gayle, what do you have in store for us now?
Just my experience of how to become your light body. So after becoming my light body, I looked for ways to be able to teach that. And through my head injury, of all things, God graced me ways to show. So that's what I'll be speaking about.
Oh, great. So go ahead. I think you're on stage. So
Okay, so
thanks.
then I'm going to pop this up, and y'all bear with me while I do. Let's see, I have to do this screen share.
Okay, so just go to the bottom
Uh-huh.
and hit the green share button,
Okay.
and your screen should come up.
Oh.
It's already on multiple users. There you go.
Okay.
Got it.
Oh, let me see. Let me move it here. And then I do play. Yeah.
Yes.
Sweet. Okay.
Good job.
No, so Mary's here, and she has an oxygen machine with her. She wanted to know if you guys could hear it through my microphone.
No.
No.
Okay, sweet. You're good. Okay. All righty. So this presentation is going on about the light body and the and higher consciousness. So as I was saying earlier, I had a head injury, and from that head injury, I was given the spiral breath. And divine, when I realized that I had a brain injury, I came home and I prayed to God. I was going through all these emotions, and I prayed. I said, God, show me how to heal my brain and allow me to be better than I was before the incident. And he gave me this spiral breath. And as you can see, the spiral here is what I saw. And it came in through the heart. It came up around my brainstem, down past my third eye, into my nostrils, up into the limbic system. And as I exhaled, the light came out through my amygdalas on either side of the third eye. So the spiral was emerald green, and it started to heal my, to activate the brain, and it healed the brain. It started the resonance going back and forth between the two lobes, and it reset the amygdalas. And I go into a lot of detail with that in the book, but I'm going to kind of skip through just a little. And so you have some of the concepts, and then there's more detail you can go in through the book. So I could talk for a long time, but we don't have that much time. And then Mary's here to share also. So the space that I went to when I was in the sarcophagus, when I went into that realm that was equally light and dark, where there was just, there was no form, but there was presence, and every soul had their individuality. And I was told that that was the realm of the imperishable stars. And that, that comes back to that everlasting soul. So our physical bodies are really just cloaks that our soul is wearing in this lifetime. So when we shed this cloak, we still have our everlasting body, and it goes back into that kinetic energy that's ever fluctuating, it's moving, it's vibrating, it's ever present, always has been, and there's just no form in that realm, except for when the souls became light, and when that spark of light, when the thought became a body and a presence, then the energy became dense, and it started to grow, and that became our physical form. So the essence of our individual souls is present, and it's always in that collective energy. And then I had mentioned earlier that as I became closer to my physical body, that the light was condensing so quickly that I thought there was a lightning strike, or there was a loud crash. And I later discovered that that was not Alan making a lot of noise. It was literally my light body condensing very fast back into its physical form. And it took me until my body was had balanced out in the physical form before I could take a breath. So your light body is energy, and energy is frequency, frequency is energy, and the frequency of unconditional love is energy. And in that state of unconditional love, that's when you really move and you really heal, and you step into your God-given powers, is when you're in a true unconditional love. And Einstein talked about energy, and E equals MC squared. So when you shift energy, you shift the energy of mass. And when you shift energy, as soon as a thought is birthed, then energy and mass start to manifest, because the energy is condensing into a physical form. So this is your alchemy. This is your manifestation principle. When you birth a principle, if you keep revisiting that and you believe as if it has already happened, you give strength and solidity to that thought process. So take care of what you're speaking, what you're thinking, what your actions are, because you are manifesting every moment. It's your choice whether you manifest chaos or you manifest unconditional love and manifest your light body. So here again, E equals energy equals mass times the speed of light. So we are light. Everything is light, everything is energy. The more solid mass is, the more condensed that light energy is. When you move into unconditional love and you heal those emotional wounds, you start moving into a space where you can raise your frequency, and you're not as dense in your energy, and you do truly become lighter than mass. And that's when you start to move multidimensional, and you can achieve that light body by simply raising the frequency of your body. And as you know, light is a wave. It's both electric and magnetic. So you have that electromagnetic component to light, and light, the speed of light moves 186,000 miles per second. So our cells are vibrating, at higher or lesser than 186,000 miles per second. And when your brain kind of grasps that, then you can understand that we are physical energy, we are light energy. And when you truly put your mind to being in your heart space, you can heal your wounds, emotional, physical, spiritual wounds, mental wounds. There is really no reason for you to have less than a spiritual and beautiful existence in this physical realm, except your choice with what you manifest. So divine and Isis and the sacred feminine, they're always asking me to manifest for the greatest good and manifest my light body in gratitude. And again, matter is nothing than energy that has been condensed into a multitude of dense energies. So you've heard Greg Braden talk about the 0 point energy, and that's when matter begins. It's condensed out of or into faster than the speed of light. So understanding energy is when I really started to understand alchemist and how to heal with our body and how I healed my brain. And the way through to the light body is really through the heart energy. And when you spiral breath, it not only healed my heart, but it activated the limbic system. And in the limbic system, you have your pineal, the pituitary, the amygdalas, and your amygdalas sit. So your amygdalas kind of sit like this in your brain on either side of the third eye. When you're locked in the posterior part of your amygdalas, that's when you're locked in your trauma, your anger, OCD, obsessive thinking, lack of self-worth. And as you do breathing, as you use the essential oils, there's several techniques I'll show you later on. But as you move yourself into a higher unconditional love, you actually will hear your amygdalas click forward and you activate that frontal lobes. And that's when you move into joy, and you'll feel that tingling in your forehead as your frontal lobes start to activate. And this is your creativity. This is your higher consciousness. And that allows you to access the pineal and to create DMT that opens up the 1,000-petal lotus and helps you move multi-dimensional. Okay, so when I became my light body in Egypt on both times and in the multiple times that I've done since, it showed to me that we are the immaculate mirror of God. And they called Mary Magdalene the immaculate mirror of God. And so within us, we hold within us the godlike power to be the immaculate mirror of God. That's why we can become light. And the ancient ones, they called this anthropos, and it means fully realized human beings. So it is that I have dedicated my life to share with people how I became light and what I did to achieve that status. And it doesn't mean it's the only way out there to do it. It just means it was the way that was provided and worked for me. So in this energy and the spiral breath that I was given, I heard that the energy as it came in through the heart and spiraled around through my limbic system, that it was connecting the energy between the heart and the limbic system, and it was called the noose. And it took me back to Jean-Yves Leloup's Gospel of Mary Magdalene, where she says, "How is it that I see you? Is it through my psyche or through my soul?" And he says, "It is the noose that connects the two, the heart and the mind." So I knew that Divine had gifted me a way to help people and myself connect the heart and the mind so that they were working as one instead of one or the other. As truly when I had my brain injury, I moved into anger and fear, I had photographic memory, perfect recall, and to be in as much pain as I was in and have my photographic memory gone in a heartbeat, I was concerned of my quality of life and how I was going to function in life. And I truly had to come back into balance. And the spiral breath activated the noose. It activated my heart and my mind. So I started once again working my mind through my heart, which is how you become your light body, by making your decisions through your heart and not just from the mind. And this is there, whereas the noose lies the treasure, is what Jesus said to Mary Magdalene in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, page 10. So again, the noose, I believe, is also the glia brain. In my book, I talk about the glia brain. Mary Hardy will speak about the glia brain also, but that's the white matter of the brain. And I believe that the noose and the glia brain is the connection that helps us move into that multidimensional dimension. And it's the part of our brain that has the highest frequency and resonance that allows us to move into our frontal lobes and activate our higher consciousness. So here is the limbic system. And if you can see where it says amygdalas and coming straight up, so the amygdalas, that's in that bluish color. At the very end, that is the area that moves you out of your lack of self-worth and your anger and your worry, and puts you into a higher state of bliss and activates your God-given gifts, your intuition and teleportation and astral projection, all of those. So again, awakening the frontal lobes, activating the glia brain, activating the amygdalas and the pineal is how you activate your light body. And when you activate these, you are moving into a state of unconditional love. It's really difficult to activate the frontal lobes if you're in a state of lack of self-worth. So the more you heal your emotional body and you move into a state of trust and believe that you can achieve this, the more you vibrate the pineal and the amygdalas and the limbic system, and you move into that higher frequency and access the frontal lobes. So when you do activate the frontal lobes, everybody feels something a little different. I feel a little whirl, a little hum, and the greater vibration and the activation that I'm having, the stronger the hum or the vibration. And then sometimes when the 1,000-petal lotus opens, it feels like a cool fan is going at the top of my head, and it moves through my body. And that's when I open the doorway to that multidimensional realm. And when you open up the 1,000-petal lotus and you're in that higher frequency, that's when you transcend space and time. And that's what I experienced when I moved into that realm of the imperishable stars and when I accessed my light body. So the pineal is really your way of accessing that higher realm. And the pineal is called the gateway to otherworldly dimensions. And it's like a stargate that's in our brain, in our body. So it's, if you commit to spending time every day to activate the pineal, to be in unconditional love, to do breath work, to do yoga, do some kind of meditation, whether it's in motion or whether you're seated or laying down, take time every day to connect to your heart space and activate that pineal, because that's when you're really going to start moving and accessing your higher realms. So your pineal accesses and produces this chemical called DMT. And it truly is the nectar that really moves you into a higher state of consciousness. When you activate your pineal and it generates that DMT, the DMT drops that little nectar onto the 1,000-petal lotus. And that's 1,000 folds that are right in this area of where the soft spot is on the baby. And when the DMT activates that, and your Kundalini will also activate that, those little folds of the 1,000-petal lotus start to vibrate and hum. And that's when you feel the whirl, and you will slide into a bliss. You will see yourself become light, and that truly is a beautiful experience. There are ways to do it with herbs and physical substances. I choose to do it through my breath and meditation, and that's what I recommend. So achieving and opening the pineal and awakening that 1,000-petal lotus, there are several ways to do that in activating the frontal lobes. My favorite way is the spiral breath, and that was the technique that Divine showed me. Essential oils also will do the same. Essential oils, pure essential oils, have the same frequency as our DNA and carries that vital life force. And it can activate your DNA and heal your cells and return your cells to their true form. TDA Lingo had a technique he called feather technique, where you would imagine a feather tickling your amygdalas, and that would help people move into their frontal lobes. Meditation does that, being on sacred places, vortexes like here in Sedona. If you have a labyrinth, you can walk the labyrinth and sit in the middle and access that frequency. Music, particularly music that's in the Pythagorean, tuned to the Pythagorean scale, will help you move into those frequencies. Toning, the solfeggio frequencies, healing. There's, like I said, many ways to activate the pineal. So you find a way that works for you and exercise that. You can use multiple versions. I like to use the essential oils when I'm doing my breath work, and it just takes me to a higher frequency. Sometimes I listen to the gamma brain waves, because it's a full brain activation, so that can also train your brain to move into the higher realms. So coming back to our DNA, so all these things activate our DNA, and our DNA is our immaculate mirror of God's image, and we are the chosen ones, and that comes from our DNA holding the name of God in our essence. Our DNA is made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and nitrogen. And when you look at the Hebrew alphabet, and Greg Braden speaks about this in great detail in the God Code, the hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen in the Hebrew alphabet, it actually spells out soul, and it's the same frequency as soul and heaven. And when you, it's linked to, and when with the speak Gayle, the Hebrew alphabet, when you translate that down, it becomes that YHV, and that is God. That little translation is God within the body. So within our DNA, we have God's name within us, and within our DNA, we have the immaculate mirror of God. And our DNA is a hologram. It can be reproduced when you put it into water, and then you can put it into solution that the DNA requires to grow. And from the hologram, you can actually create DNA, and that has been being done for many years now. So our body, our essence, is a hologram of our divine I am self. We are in a cloak of physical form. So when you commit wholeheartedly to be your light body, to be the best you can be, the difference and why I moved into a higher frequency in Egypt is I knew with every fiber of my being that I could become my light body. I wasn't sure how I was going to get there, but I knew with every fiber of my being and the essence of my being that I could achieve being light. And so with my heart and my energy and my belief and my faith and my trust in divine, I allowed that to happen, and I healed my wounds along the trip and allowed my heart to be in a fully unconditional loving space, which then prompted me to step in and raise my frequency to become light. And again, I say, if I can become light, any of y'all can become light. And that's why in that moment, it shifted my focus of what my purpose was in life. And then I knew that my purpose was to help other people experience that, that feeling of light and that bliss and that love and that level of unconditional love. It truly, truly is the most wonderful experience that you will ever have. And when you hit it once, you can feel it again. And so practice. Ask me questions. I'll show you my contact information in a minute. So I'm pretty accessible. So just know if I don't respond to you right away, it's because I have a full schedule and I'll get to you as soon as possible. And if you do contact me and you don't hear from me in a couple of days, feel free to contact me again. It doesn't hurt to remind me. So truly, we have the ability to be our divine higher self and mirrors of God image. And it is through unconditional love and our breath work and our faith that allows us to achieve that. And I think that's the presentation. So here's my book. You can get it on Amazon. It's an ebook. And next week, I start recording the audiobook, so it'll soon be on audio. So that it goes into more detail explaining the glial brain and the limbic system and color and sound and essential oils and emotions and gratitude and just love. It's my give back. So there's my
Thank you
information.
so much, Gayle. Could you recommend oils for people to use if they want to try to access those higher realms?
Oh, absolutely. So Young Living, and I only use Young Living for those who use other companies. I really only use Young Living because I've known them to be the purest oils. And I used to use other companies, and my friend Mary Hardy, who's going to be speaking next, when I was doing an activation in '96 in France, I had frankincense, and she goes, honey, if you're going to be using oils and anointing people, you're going to have to use a real oil. And she took what I had as frankincense and she handed me Young Living's frankincense. And I immediately felt the vibration and the life in that essential oil. And when I anointed my third eye, then I felt that frequency. And truly, Young Living, pure Young Living essential oils carries that frequency at the same as our DNA, and it raises up. So frankincense is a very good one. It's an adaptogen. They have a new oil out last year. They released it in honor of Gary Young. He had passed, and he has brilliant formulas that God has given him. And he has a whole library full of oils for raising your frequency. And his wife, Mary Young, said, okay, we're going to start acknowledging the spirituality in essential oils. So show me which oil you want me to present first. So they called it One Heart. And it truly is an oil that moves you into a sweet place in your heart, and it activates your limbic system. And it's a beautiful natural emerald green, which is something that is was a nice pleasant surprise, because not only does it smell great and it raises the frequency of the heart, it also is emerald green, which is the frequency of unconditional love. And Mary Hardy and I, we started the Sisterhood of the Emerald Fire to help people spin their heart chakras to a place of unconditional love. And we believe that's what Mary Magdalene and Jesus were sharing as well. So one heart, let's see, Gary's Light is another one. Magnify Your Purpose. I really like that one too. It's more with the myrrh, and it's a very nice one. You can wear it as perfume as well. Let's see, Mary, can you think of any others? Highest Potential is another one.
Sacred Mountain.
Sacred Mountain. So when you're using the oils to activate the limbic system, also take care that you're moving the emotional issues. And Young Living's forgiveness and gratitude really do what they say. So what I like about Young Living oils is Gary didn't create a formula and say, oh, this smells pretty, I think I'm going to name it forgiveness. It actually does what it says it does. One time I was doing a healing process and I was stuck. And the facilitator put essential oil across my forehead, and I immediately started to process. And I chuckled and I said, I recognize that, but I don't know what is that? What is the name? I've smelled it before. And he said, forgiveness. And he walked away, and these big tears started coming. And just that fast, without knowing what was put on me, my body was releasing the unshed tears that I had yet to release. And that allowed me, I shed tears for about 10 minutes, and then I walked away with a lighter heart. Sarah is another one. It's an acronym for sexual abuse, ritual abuse, and using that with inner child and forgiveness is a nice combination that helps you move the energy in your body so you can move into a higher frequency. So those are a few to start. And I list a whole bunch of them in my book too.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Gayle? Please unmute if you do.
I'm wondering, how often do you go to the light body, and what, when it is ultimately time to transcend, do you believe one would do to go to and with the light, and what might happen?
Okay, all right.
I know.
So I do move into my light body on a regular basis. I do it in variation of levels. Oftentimes when I'm doing my spiral breath, I become shimmery or like opaque, where I can see through me. So I'm in various stages of that, depending on my time, where I'm at. I would like to say I'm in my light body every day, but I'm in this physical form. I have a business. I'm working with people. I get wrapped up in life sometimes. And sometimes I'll say, gosh, when was the last time I meditated? So it truly is. I really do my best to do my spiral breath when I wake up. I anoint myself with oils. I do my spiral breath. I set the pace of my day. I give thanks for the blessings that are going to unfold through the day. And then I step out onto the floor and step into my day. I like to spiral breath and meditate before I go to bed, so it cleans that which was less than divine. So I don't carry that and anchor that into my cellular structure as I'm sleeping. So I do my breath work almost every day. I'm human, so sometimes, like I said, I do forget. And when it's time to ascend, I see that being a long time off, because I have chosen to be present, to take humanity through this chaos and be the anchoring light and the beacon to show people the hope and the faith that there is something greater than what we've been seeing lately. And I'm committed to being present and to following through and doing that as long as I'm guided to do so. And how that will look when I choose to ascend, I might become my light body and just, go on up. And I might leave it in the bed behind me, but truly, with all my being, I know that when I shed the physical cloak, I'm going to move into that realm of imperishable stars and continue to work. My grandmother gave me a blessing too. She actually passed over in my presence and came back. And I asked her where she went, and she said, God let me go to heaven. And I said, I had a feeling. And she said, I know, I'm sorry that I scared you, but thank you so much for knowing what to do and to help me come back into my body, because it took me 3 times to get back. But she said, I said, were you afraid? And she said, no, it's so beautiful up there. And the love, she said, honey, the love up there, I've never felt that love here on earth. And everybody that I loved was up there. And I was warm, I had no pain. She said, it truly is a beautiful place and I have no fear of dying. And while she was up there, she was who she was in her best image of herself, and not as the 80-year-old woman that had passed and come back. She was in her younger state. So I truly believe that when we shed this cloak, that we are moving into a higher realm, and you can be whoever you choose to be, and whichever level of higher dimension you go into will be how you continue to work your light and journey in your light body. Did I answer all those? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your question, Laura. Kiara has a question, is wondering if you could explain the spiral breath. And I'm wondering, could you just walk everybody through,
Sure.
1 or 2 breaths so that they've had the opportunity to practice?
Okay. So what was guided to me is that the spiral breath it comes in through your heart. So I'll raise up just a little bit. Yep. So I imagine that the breath is coming into the heart. And so the emerald green, I saw an emerald green spiral, and I was guided to breathe it in. The tail of that spiral came into my heart, and it swirled around until the heart space was full with emerald green. Then it came up to the brainstem, and it slowly swirled, and it's in a pattern. If you can allow yourself to visualize in multi-dimensional, then the emerald green is going both right and left and up and over and down and around all at the same time in a toroidal vortex. If you can't do it right now, just see yourself filling the brainstem with emerald green, and when that's full, then you can bring it up past the occipital bone, which is the round of your head, up to your crown chakra. Bring the breath down to past the third eye, filling the third eye. It comes down into your nostrils and back up into your limbic system. And as it fills the limbic system, you exhale through the amygdalas on either side of the third eye. And I will do my best to find that video so I can actually play it if we have time at the very end, and so you can see that process. But as the light comes out through the amygdalas, I saw it as golden. It went from emerald green to golden. It blended with the mother of pearl, came back into the heart, and it just was this spiral that came from the heart to the brainstem, to the crown chakra, past and through the third eye, into the nostrils, into the limbic system, which is in the center of the right and left hemisphere, and then exhaling that which no longer serves you out through the amygdalas, and just keep doing that breath. And breathe in a natural pattern, what's comfortable for you. Some people breathe faster, some people breathe slower, but continue to do that breath. And I do at least 10 minutes, but after a while, it's also good to calm the brain, as if you make the, have the breath go to the back of your throat. So you have an audible breath in the beginning, kind of like Darth Vader. And it gives your conscious mind something to think about as you're doing your breath work. And then after a while, you're going to settle into a nice breath, and just continue to spiral the breath through the heart, up around the back of your head, down through the third eye, into the nostrils, into the limbic system, and out the amygdalas on either side. And the way to find your amygdalas, if you put your thumbs in your ear and then your middle fingers, you tap either side of your third eye, there's a little indent. That's where your amygdalas are. And you'll notice as you're doing the breath work, you'll start to feel a sensation. And then you know you've activated your amygdalas. And oftentimes when you move from the posterior to the anterior, you will actually hear a little inside the brain.
Beautiful. And there's a question about the feather technique and the clean sweep. Are those techniques found in your book?
I believe I touch on the feather technique. The feather technique is TD lingo. So Tickle Your Amygdalas by Neil Slade. He was apprentice. He worked with TDA lingo. So TDA lingo, you can research him and find that, or Neil Slade has Tickle Your Amygdalas. And that's, it literally is just a visualization of imagining a feather tickling either side of the limbic amygdalas, and as you're doing breath work. And in a lot of people have been able to access that, activate the amygdalas by doing that. The clean sweep is actually, that's something that another friend of mine has given me. It's on my website, Keys to Ascension. And the clean sweep is a way of clearing past life issues and frequencies and bugaboos and heavy energy. So it's, that also is very good. I don't reference that in my book, but you can find that on my website, Keys to Ascension.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Gayle. You've given us a lot to think about. A
What's
lot
that?
to aspire to.
Smell is the gateway to the amygdalas.
Okay, so Mary is telling me the sense of smell is the gateway to the amygdalas. That's why we smell the essential oils.
Right.
Beautiful.
So when Mary comes on, I'm going to unplug my headphones because she's just been listening to me ramble without hearing all the questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Gayle.
Oh.
I really appreciate it. So people, Kim, did you have a question?
Yeah, real quick. Thank you. So I'm doing work with the children, and I often wonder if we were to be able, if we were to be able to teach the children with the essential oils, like when you do your spiral breath and we maybe put it on, like anoint them on the forehead or tuck, you know, the scent into their nose and teach them the spiral breath. You know, a lot of the kids right now in the schools, you know, they've got their masks on, and I feel like it's really numbing them.
Yes,
something that you feel
absolutely.
like, yeah.
So you can also, with children, you can also put the oils on the bottom of their feet and have them smell. And you can anoint their third eye if you wish. And with, I would strongly suggest, if you're going to take them through a breathing, that they lower the mask so that they, if it's possible during school, so they are breathing in fresh air and not their CO2 and the carbon dioxide that they're putting out into the mask. So, and it's nice to teach children, and they love that spiral breath because it gives them a way when you can teach them that this is a way when they don't feel happy or something is off or they're wounded in some way, that they have a technique that they can move through. They can stop in their sadness and start breathing and remember the smell of the essential oils and move themselves into a higher, to move past and heal those emotions. It gives them a technique that they can carry through throughout their lives. You can do the same thing, pulsing your feet. So put the oils on their feet and then they hold right hand to right foot, left hand to left foot, and hold the frequency at the arch of the foot until they feel the heartbeat and evenly pulsed in both hands.
Thank you.
And Kim, if you've got a diffuser, if the school allows it, diffusing it into the air would be amazing too. And Kiara recommends just putting it in the face masks.
Yes, yes. If you have the double fabric face mask, you can either drop it onto the hospital ones that they have, but if you have the double ones, coffee filter is really good. You can take a little square of that, put the essential oil on it, and put it between the two layers, and they can breathe that into.
Miigwech, thank you, Gail.
You're welcome, welcome.
Beautiful. And then there's one last question, and then we're going to go to Mary. But Sandy was wondering if the heart-brain cohesion is taught by HeartMath Institute, if you knew if that was similar to the spiral breath technique.
The connecting the heart and the brain, yes, definitely. It is similar to HeartMath. And HeartMath, they have wonderful technology that when you're connected, they can measure the frequency. They have like a computer system where it's a black and white picture, and the more you move into your heart space, the more color that comes in. So the grass becomes green and flowers start popping up and water flows through the stream, and the deer walks out, and you know that you've achieved unconditional love when the deer and the bunny kiss. And so it's just they have wonderful techniques too. And that's something that you can use with children to get them into that heart brain connection. Yeah, HeartMath does wonderful, wonderful work. And I reference them a lot in my book.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Gayle, thank you so much. It's always an honor and a privilege to get to spend some time with you. You're very near and dear to my heart, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And you are too. I love you very much.
And again, if people want to get a hold of Gayle, her contact information is still showing on the screen. So if you'll make a note of that, and then we're going to take that down and introduce Mary Hardy.
So I'm going to move the screen now so as to give Mary, I put Mary's information up there too. So
beautiful.
So there, how you can contact Mary Hardy. And there's
and you know, really,
Mm-hmm.
Gayle, nobody knows Mary better than you. Do you want to go ahead and introduce Mary?
Oh yeah, sure. So I'm going to take out my earbuds. Can you still hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, sweet. Okay, let me turn this up. Okay, so now. So Mary Hardy and I, we met in 96, and Mary came to one of my tours for the Black Madonna Mary Magdalene tours, and we met and we had amazing experiences. I had a 12th dimensional beam me up Scotty experience, and she had a 12th dimensional experience with the Knights Templar that gave her a technique called the Holy Grail Vortex. And since that time, Mary and I have been working together. For me, I was so elated to find somebody who was on the same page as me and understood what I was experiencing. And Mary and I have been traveling around. We call ourselves grid keepers. We've been, Divine gives us jobs, and we travel around the world and balance energy and reset the grid and heal the land and retune churches and cathedrals, and just do the space of walk the light of spirituality. And she's also, I'm forever beholden, because she introduced me to Young Living essential oils. So I'm going to have Mary come around, and I'm going to step out of this seat. And
Okay.
Mary Hardy. And so you, there you go.
Hello.
Yep.
Hello, Mary. It's so wonderful to have you with us, especially on this special day. I think everybody had something that they want to say to you. If everyone could go ahead and go off mute, we're going to sing happy birthday to you.
Oh my goodness, I get to be that lucky, right?
Yeah. Okay, Kim, you want to start us?
Sure. Happy birthday.
Birthday to you.
Happy
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mary. Happy birthday to you.
That's very great.
Yay! Thank you for sharing this day with us. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say to us.
Well, you know, Gayle and I are in Sedona.
Yes.
You know that?
Yes.
And we're in Sedona for a purpose of grid keeping. Now, it's all fine and dandy, but 5G has messed up the grid lines for the animals, the birds, the bugs, and the bees to follow. So I have had an experience in December 27th where a meteor fell into Allegan and activated a situation where several birds from different parts of the world, like we had the smews that came all the way from the Black Sea in Asia, and northern Canadian birds. And that is because the birds have no more grid lines to follow. Now, I discovered that there was a meteor that fell in Allegan, almost the same place, in 1890 on July 10th. So what I have been told to do by the Knights Templar is go around to different areas, like we went to the Mississippi, talk to the eagles, see what the birds I discovered when I used to do the Holy Grail Vortex, which is a series of vortexes. Now, Gayle mentioned she had an experience at Mount Bucharest where all the cathedrals were and activated the Marys. I was met by the Knights Templar, and they gave me a prayer called the Holy Grail Vortex, which does 2 counterclockwise vortexes and 2 clockwise vortexes. Now, in 1975, we built a pyramid. That pyramid has an orgone covering. And what happened with that pyramid is that it activated the other pyramids. And all of a sudden, we had Navy intelligence come to our house about 8 weeks later, and they asked me, do you know what you have done? And I didn't know anything about orgone energy. Kenneth Killick, who was our pyramid designer, had us put that covering on. We just simply said we built the pyramid for my then 10-year-old son. So the Navy interviewed John, and about 2 years ago, he said, Mom, I wish you'd stop telling people the Navy came to discipline you. The Navy came to ask me and ask us if we discovered what we had done. In 1975, the Cold War was going on, and there was a situation where the government wanted to keep submarines submerged with nuclear warheads in there so that they could bomb Russia if they bombed us. And that what had happened is they made a worldwide radio station, and Navy intelligence discovered that was killing the oceans. What?
The sonar.
With EMF, extremely low frequency. And they came to say, do you know what you have done? When we put up our pyramid with the orgone covering, it shut down the Bermuda Triangle and the Great Lakes Triangle and prevented the oceans from dying. And they wanted to know if we understood that. John, who could read their minds and doesn't say much if you ever met him, said, Mom, it's time you really understood why the Navy came out there. They came to see if you knew that you had prevented the oceans from dying. Now, the same is true with 5G. 5G is an electrical device, and every time they raise a different frequency on the planet, we have in 1800, when they put up the electrical system in homes and started lighting homes, you had a flu. You all know of the Spanish flu when they made worldwide radio. And you could go on, when they put up radar, you had a different type of epidemic. Now they put up 5G, and 5G they attempted to give the world a very big epidemic called coronavirus. But when they turned the 5G on in New York City, nothing happened. They didn't kill 2 million people like the flu did, the Spanish flu did. And I feel that's because we have created a system, the earth is a motor, and we have created a system that prevented the 5G from killing 2 billion people. That is what they attempted to do with turning on the 5G. Unfortunately, the 5G now has interfered with the flights of the birds, the flights of whales and animals. And so Gayle and I, because we had 2 meteors fall, we are now doing the Holy Grail vortex over the meteors and hoping that that will again retune. I learned a long time ago, whenever I did the Holy Grail vortex at my father's gazebo, the ducks in the water by the gazebo would come by and create a circle with one duck in the middle. And that is how they retuned the grid. And so that's what we are going around. And we've had a wonderful experience. We've met many birds. We've been to Patagonia, where they have the hummingbirds and the songbirds. We've gone along the Mississippi, where they have the eagles. And we've gone to a place in Albuquerque, where the Indians were the Apaches out to there, and there were 500 birds. And when we got through, one of the birds walked over, looked at us, and you could see he was talking to us. So how do you people feel about this mission that Gayle and I are on?
It's awesome.
And you can join us by, I hope you all know how to do the Holy Grail Vortex, right? Now, we activated Sedona today. And if you get up, we put it away because we want to get out of here without being observed by those that want to stop us. So when we get home tomorrow night, what are you laughing about?
Okay, never mind, go ahead, because we weren't supposed to say that. Yeah.
I was, well, when we get home, no, I'm asking them, when we get home tomorrow night, I am going to ask you guys to do the Holy Grail Vortex, if you know how to do it, to activate what we are doing so that you can be part of it. Do you have any questions?
How do you do the Holy Grail Vortex?
Well, we have all you have to do is sit down, close your eyes, and make a counterclockwise vortex and say from the point of light. You make another counterclockwise vortex and say from the point of love. Then you make a clockwise vortex and say from the center where the will of God is known. And then you make another clockwise vortex from the center, which is called the will of man. So if you don't know how to do it, that's fine, but just sit down and offer your consciousness to us, because this is what we are trying to do on this trip. Okay?
Do you have that?
Yeah, and Gayle or someone just put in the chat, if you go to Gayle's website at thekeystoascension.com, then /holy-grail vortex, you'll be able to find the instructions there, but it's in the chat. So
Great.
for anyone that's interested.
Well, thank you.
That Gayle just said thank you.
Of course.
But Gayle was talking about the glia brain. The glia brain is operated by touch, smell, and taste. I'm a homeopath, and we have right in our cheeks, or right in our mouth, called the parotid gland. And so when we chew our food, that sets up a frequency to help digest. Homeopathy is a frequency. This is all frequency. So when we take a homeopathic remedy, it changes the whole frequency within the body. That is how taste, touch, we can get to the glia brain and change things by acupuncture, acupressure, and by foot reflexology. But the big one with the glia brain is smell. And that is why the Sisterhood of the Emerald Fire and the Marys dealt with smell. As you say, you can smell and go right to your glia brain and right to the amygdala gland. The amygdala gland, you can change anything you want to in your body. Okay? And that is where the consciousness comes in. We have two types of brain matter. We have gray matter and white matter. And the white matter takes up 85% of our brain. Unfortunately, medicine has forgot that the white matter exists. They only work with the 15% of the brain, which is the gray matter. Anytime that you get into any illnesses, I bypass, which are drugs, the gray matter, and instantly try either foot reflexology or try smell. Now, we talked about clicking your way to happiness by smelling an oil, breathing it in, and activating the amygdala gland. And then you hear the click. And Gayle has talked about that. Okay? I have written the Alchemist Handbook to Homeopathy. When I got sick in 1980, I studied at the Naturopathic School in Missouri and learned homeopathy. And the law of alchemy is you change the energy, you change the mass. And we can only do that through the white matter. We cannot do that through the gray matter. When they take a drug, that blocks the system so you get a desired effect, but it really does not do the healing. The healing is only through the white matter. And the spiral breath, the smell of oils, the taste of a homeopathic remedy, or acupressure, acupuncture, or foot reflexology allows the white matter to send a signal to the brain and change the frequency within the whole body. Are there any questions? Okay. Basically, what happened to me is in 1968, we lost 4 hours of time. And I was told at that time that I needed to build my 3-year-old son a pyramid. We built him a pyramid, not realizing that we took control of Mother Earth's grid. Remember, Mother Earth is a motor. So if we're going to advance in consciousness, we need to heal Mother Earth. And it was interesting, when they shut everything down for the coronavirus, people were saying that the Earth was improving itself. It was healing itself. That is because we were sending the frequency of orgone energy through our pyramids. And that is what we need to do with the Holy Grail vortex. Okay? Gayle, do you have anything you want to say?
I have a question.
Okay.
You said that you're going to ask us to join you, but how will we know when and how to join you? Where are you going to ask us?
Tune in.
What did she say?
So you can tune in to wherever you're at. And we're doing that tomorrow. So it's anytime you get a chance, because time is all encompassing. You don't have to have a specific time, because your energy is being put into the prayer that's already begun. So you will be enhancing the prayer to balance the electromagnetic grids, to help the birds and the animals to follow to balance the grid so they can follow it, because the birds are unable to pick up their honing, so to go to where they winter or where they return for spring, and they're getting confused because the electromagnetics on the earth have been skewed. So we're bringing balance to those electromagnetic grids. So wherever you're at when you put in that prayer, and that prayer too is the great invocation that was given to, it was a peace prayer that was given to
the UN.
United Nations. Yeah.
Yeah. Doug Hammarskjöld was the second Secretary of State of the United Nations. And I wrote my senior high school paper on the UN. And my dad took me to the UN. And when I walked into the UN at that time, there was a little room off to the left, which had the great invocation. And that stuck with me. So when the Knights Templar gave me the Holy Grail vortex, they told me to use the great invocation, which is a prayer given by the Lucas Foundation and by Anne Bailey to heal the planet. It goes from the point of light within the mind of God. Let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. And you create a counterclockwise vortex. Now, counterclockwise vortex goes from the upper atmosphere all the way down to the center of the earth, and you create a pillar of light. Then the second stanzas of the Holy Grail vortex is from the point of love within the heart of God. Let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. Now you make a second counterclockwise vortex, and that goes from the ionosphere all the way down to earth. Then the third stanza is from the center where the will of God is known. Let purpose guide the little wills of men. the purpose that the masters don't serve. Now that takes what we have put into the center of the earth and raises it all the way back up to the ionosphere. And then the fourth stanza is from the center, which is called the race of man. Let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the doors where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan of earth. So what we are doing is we're going to these birds' brains, doing the Holy Grail vortex, putting their consciousness down to the center of the earth. Now that is helping them to regrid the center of the earth. From the center, which is from the point of love within the heart of God, we are putting it into the collective consciousness. Then when we bring it up, we are regridding the upper ionosphere grid. So they have both the ionosphere grid and the earth grid is reactivated. Then when we say from the center, which is called the race of man, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the doors where evil dwells. We again regrid the birds, the bugs, the bees, to have that honing device. And that's what we're on our trip to do. And I thank you, Sheila, for letting me explain a little bit about this, because I wish you could all, soon after we get back, we're going to put this on my YouTube videos. You could go to Mary Hardy YouTube and learn the Holy Grail Vortex if you want to, okay?
And I will send it out to everybody tonight. In addition, I'll send it out to everybody that's on my mailing list. And that way tomorrow we should have a huge energy surge.
Well, that's what we need.
Sheila, could I ask Mary a question?
Yes.
Sure, Kevin.
Hi, Sheila. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fine, fine. Hi, Mary. I was very interested in what you say about. I'm very interested in the connection to consciousness, obviously our planet, our plants' life, our birds. And I just wondered if you could answer a question for me that I've been pondering with. The first one would be, you mentioned the Knights Templar. I'm writing an article at the moment, and I was writing about Knights Templar yesterday. I had a previous memory of being a Knights Templar, and I was killed on the battlefield at the Battle of Agincourt. I remember the death because it was violent, and I was actually writing about it yesterday for this article. And then the other thing you mentioned about the birds losing their direction because of the change in the grid system, the magnetic system, the electromagnetic system of the Earth. And I had about a year ago, probably, we have the large buzzards here. I live in Florida, and there was some scratching on the roof. And my wife and I went outside, and there was a number of these large buzzards on the roof. We hadn't seen them before, actually in our area, but and as we went out, they all flew off, and I've got 5 acres with fence posts at the back, and all 8 went and landed on an individual fence. So I went out to take a photograph, and as I did, the first one at the end turned and opened its wings. Then the second one turned, and in sequence, they all turned and opened up the wings as I moved towards them. I wasn't sure what that was, whether it was a threat, a warning to stay away. I took my photograph, and then I walked away. A friend told me it was a totem. And the fact that you've mentioned the Knights Templar, which I'm writing about as of yesterday, and you mentioned the birds and the grids and losing direction. And I'm very interested in that in relation to balancing out the frequencies that are out of balance now, to get them back in to extend consciousness so we can move further forward to help develop who we are as a species. Can you explain the other thing with those 8 birds? I have contact with 8 higher conscious beings, ETs, and this friend that mentioned it was a totem, she said it was the 8 ETs that had come to communicate with me via the birds. Do you have any information on that at all?
Well, if you were a Templar, the first if you were a Templar, you knew how to create a vortex. And the
Okay,
birds,
well,
what?
I don't know how to create a vortex, no.
I'll show you. So I'm going to interrupt. So on Mary Hardy's YouTube, you can go to look for the Holy Grail Vortex. It's a 17-minute, 43-second video. It really is a beautiful video that shows you how to do the Holy Grail Vortex. It's the best explanation, and anyone who watches that video will know how to do the Holy Grail Vortex.
Okay, thank you, Gayle. I'll do that tomorrow.
Well, I want to say this. You know, the Templars regridded the earth. They created the great cathedrals. The great cathedrals are resonating chambers, so that whenever they rang the bell from the resonating chambers, that sent balance out through the whole system. Now, I take it that the birds were honoring you. I don't hear very well, so I didn't hear all of your question. But
okay.
Basically, I feel that the birds were honoring you from your past life.
Okay, I appreciate that. That has answered some more questions. And I say I don't have any knowledge of the actual life as a Templar, Knights Templar. It was only the death, and I think it was the death because it was a violent death, and I had a memory of it. But it's just coincidence that I was writing about it yesterday, and I haven't written about it before. It was a coincidence that I was writing about it yesterday for an article, and interesting that you mentioned the birds as well. And I'm very concerned about the birds here where I live, because I've seen a decline in them. I've seen a decline in the bees. I've seen a decline in the butterflies and all the other smaller insects, and that concerns me. They're very important to me. So
you're saying there's a decline in the birds, the bees, and the bugs?
Yes, where I live, yes.
Well, they need to, first of all, 5G needs to be balanced out. And our pyramids have a orgone covering. Orgone energy, if you know anything about it, is the life force energy of the body. Now, there are thousands of pyramids all over the planet. And the time before Atlantis, at Camelot's time, it never rained until 2 in the morning. That is because they controlled the weather. They controlled everything through pyramid energy. And what happened is they collapsed the pyramid over the North Pole and created the Atlantic Ocean. And the Great Pyramid itself, you know, Tesla learned most of his technology from studying the Great Pyramid. Did you know that?
I was aware of that, yes.
So the Great Pyramid is a wireless antenna system. And when we activated the whole pyramid system, my husband actually went to Egypt in 1980 and tied up that pyramid to our pyramid to an obelisk in Sedona. And that is why we're in Sedona now. So that actually created, and we are forcing into the grid orgone energy. Do you know anything about Wilhelm Reich and orgone energy?
Nothing at all, no.
It is the life force energy of the piranha of the body. So through these pyramids, we are broadcasting that life force energy. That is why when they shut everything down, the pyramids doing the Holy Grail Vortex broadcasted all over the world that loving energy of orgone. And what happened is we discovered that the atmosphere began to clean up, lakes and rivers begin to clean up. And that is what we have. We have that system, and it is activated through the Holy Grail Vortex. Okay? Now, what we are doing is we're trying, as the meteor fell, and on December 27th, last December, it went right straight through our etheric pyramid into Lake Allegan. My son has a pyramid, I have a pyramid that makes two sides. The dam in Allegan creates a river, the dammed up creates Lake Allegan, and the airport creates the other side of that pyramid. It's a 15-mile wide etheric pyramid. Lake Allegan, the meteor fell right into the middle of that lake. And then I was working on Wikipedia, and I discovered, because I looked up any other meteors that fell in Allegan, and in 1890, on July 10th, a meteor fell. And we looked where those two meteors were, and they were only about 1.5 miles from each other. Of course, Lake Allegan wasn't there. Now, Tesla in 1904 came to Allegan and gave the Kalamazoo River a dam system, because Allegan itself there's places on the planet that are communication points. And so that's why our pyramid is at Allegan. It's a good ground plane for communication. So we are communicating all this orgone energy, and it can heal the planet. It can help if we help the birds. As I said, I started going down to a gazebo. A gazebo is a vortex generator. It creates a vortex. Instead of a Hertzian wave going up and down, it creates a vortex. Now, if you spin that vortex counterclockwise, you take it from the ionosphere down to the Earth's motor. And Tesla created a Tesla coil. And that's exactly where he learned about Tesla coils. The pyramid itself generates a vortex. So, and the pyramid itself is a wireless antenna. When the Ark of the Covenant was in the pyramid, they could produce gold. They could light up their homes. People don't realize that. And they had all these beautiful paintings in the caves. They didn't do that by torch. They did that by light, because the pyramid itself was a wireless antenna. Now, when they cracked the earth at the end of Atlantis, it created the Atlantic Ocean, and Africa and South America fit together, okay? The reason why the Great Pyramid, if the earth is a motor and is spinning on its axis, it has to be in balance, right? Now, you had all these pyramid antenna technicians all over the world. So they held their own area, and it took 52 years to build the Great Pyramid. Now, these people, they had that technology because they were pyramid builders. But if you blow up the earth, a lot of people died, and not everybody had that technology. So they went to a place called Saqqara, which is about 30 meters from the Great Pyramid, 30 kilometers from the Great Pyramid. And they built the Great Pyramid as a wheel weight so that the earth would spin in a balance, because the earth is a motor and it generates our atmosphere. Unfortunately, historians call the pyramids tombs. They were never tombs. They were our wireless antennas. So when we put an orgone covering on our pyramid in 1975, because we had to do it before my son was 10 years old. In 1968, we lost 4 hours of time. We met with Brother John, who was Katumi, and he gave us, said we had to build my then 3-year-old son a pyramid, or he would not stay with us. So by the time he was 10, we had to build him a pyramid because he was extremely dyslexic and could not function in the physical world the way most people function. So we built a pyramid for him. When he was 10 years old, about eight weeks afterwards, all of a sudden these guys came. They were selling books. They didn't announce themselves as Navy intelligence, but they parked out at the end of our road and walked in. They had a Navy car with Navy written along the side. They spent about 4 hours at our house. They visited the pyramid, book salesman, you know, and they interviewed my son, John. And after they left, people came down and said, "Did you lose somebody?" Because the Navy was there for 4 hours. What were they talking to you about? And then we realized, and then, as I said, I started to say, I thought they came to discipline us, but John said, Mom, I wish you would stop saying that, because he could read their minds as they were talking to us. And he said they wanted to know if we knew what we had done. And the Navy were the good intelligence force in like the CIA. The Navy intelligence existed until 9/11, when they blew up their center with a missile at 9/11. But the Navy was a very powerful group. They called themselves the White Knights. Actually, I think they were Templars. They're healing the grid. And at Sawyer Air Force Base in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, they had a radio station going all the way around the world to keep the submarines submerged during the Cold War in 1975. And if that would have kept that way, it would have killed the oceans. So they came with one question: do you know what you have done? And of course, we weren't trained in orgone energy. We just put the an orgone covering on our pyramid. Now remember, pyramids are broadcast wireless antennas going all the way to the center of the earth. And when we put that on there and we shut down the Bermuda Triangle and the Great Lakes Triangle, we united all the pyramids in the world. Now you have a lot of broadcasts, and we took control of the grid. And the New World Order has tried to take that control away from us. Several times, Gayle and I have had to make trips. One trip was to the Olympic Games in 2012. They wanted to turn the Olympic Stadium into a situation where they could move the Stonehenge, which is the control panel for all the pyramids, over to the Olympic Stadium. And they put a pyramid on the top all the way around. And then they built vortex generators in the shape of Ferris wheels. See, a Ferris wheel turns and creates a vortex. They could go backwards and forwards. One way takes the energy in, the other way takes the energy out. And so what we did is a Knights Templar stood in front of my bed one morning and says, you have to go to England. I had no idea why they wanted me to go to England. I called up Gayle. I said, we have a job to do. We have to go to England. So we went to England. My friend Duncan met us at the airport and took us down to a park in Brighton. Brighton is the largest natural vortex, one of the largest natural vortexes in England. And we stood around the fountain and we did the Holy Grail vortex. We put 4 Knights Templar in front of each one of those Ferris wheels. What happens when you put a shield in front of a vortex? It sends it back, right? We had policemen, we had helicopters, we had all that following us for all the time we were there, right, Gayle?
Yeah.
And so what we have done here is we have activated our grid here, but we've kept it so we didn't activate it till tomorrow night. So if you'd like to be part of activating our grid, all you have to do is sit and make 2 counterclockwise vortexes and 2 clockwise vortexes and ask to hook with us.
Okay, I will do that tomorrow. Any specific time?
No, the
No.
Knights Templar could go forward and backwards in time.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So they,
No,
it doesn't matter.
Fascinating. Absolutely
Put
fascinating,
on your
Mary.
Knights outfit and say, I'm a Knights Templar wanting to heal the earth. You'll be fine.
Okay, sounds good to me. Thank you very much. That's just fascinating, Mary. You've answered many questions for me. It's just, I'm learning so much and so quickly. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, you guys are all part of the answer. That's why you're here. That's why you're in Sheila's group, right, Sheila?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Mary, for coming and talking with us tonight. It's a real pleasure, and I know that I think you've got some birthday plans yet.
Yay.
Is that right?
Well, we celebrated my birthday last night.
Okay.
Celebrating it every night.
There you go. There you go. Well, wonderful. Mary, do you want to, let's see, does this say where to get your book?
Okay, if you want my book, you could just send me an email at mhardy@allian.com or .net. And you can put that out there for him, Sheila.
Okay.
And
She also has it on Amazon. I bought it when she came on.
it's called The Pyramid
It's the
Energy,
Alchemy book.
Philosophy of God, the Science of Man. Now, if you would like me to send you a copy, I reprinted the book that last fall, and I wrote a foreword to it, the 45 years of engineering the grid through pyramid energy. And it tells of all the techniques we've had to use. The purpose of giving me the Holy Grail vortex from the Knights Templar was to keep free will on the planet. And what they're trying to do with the 5G, wearing the masks, vaccinations, they're trying to take us away from free will. And this is what I am trying to teach. So if you want to know the history of the planet, what happened, how the earth got cracked, how we could correct it, just send me an email. It's about 15 pages long on the, well, what it is it's the last 45 years of engineering the grid through pyramid energy. So if you're interested in that, just send me an email, and free of charge, I will send you the foreword to the book. And I think you'd be interested in that, Kevin, right?
Oh, without a doubt, yes.
Well, I'm awful glad you came on.
Well, I'm glad that it's just amazing me now. You know, I said there's so much synchronicity going on at the moment, and we've got so much in common in relation to. I've never met anybody that has an understanding of all this like you do, but you just talk about it as if it's just, you know, everybody knows about it. It's just fascinating. Thank you. I can't say how excited I am now for the future. I want to be part of it. So thank you very much.
Well, you see, I don't know if you were a Knights Templar, but the last great leader of the Knights Templar was Jacques de Molay. He died in 1300s. He was burned at the stake.
Right, okay. Well, I remember the battle, it was a battle of Agincourt, and I think it was about 1415, something like that. And apparently they developed a new metal on the tips of the arrows, and the metal went straight through my armor, into my heart, and I fell off the horse and died on the battlefield. But that's the only memory I have of it. Nothing past or previous. I had previous memories of another death later on in the French Revolution, when I was a royalist and I had my head chopped off. Again, another violent death, but I have some history to that as well. So, in fact, I was just writing about that yesterday as well. So, but it's amazing how everything comes together with that synchronicity. We're all on a journey together, and we're here to save our species, save humanity, and we're all working together towards that, I'm sure. So, yeah.
Well, you know what we always say, oh, once a Templar, always a Templar.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, Mary, it's so good to see you. I'm on the verge of tears here. It's been so many years. I love you so much. And Gayle, just everyone, I'm really going to start to cry. I love you all so much. All right. It's so good to see you again, Mary. God bless you.
Well, thank you. Is it Philip?
Yeah.
Now, yeah, you know who Jacques de Molay was, right?
Absolutely.
You know, he found my family. I was 2 months old. They killed my family. He came riding up. He was a friend. And he took me out of the bread oven in France and took me to a station master and raised me as his own daughter. I was his special daughter. So when Jacques de Molay was captured in the Paris commandery, which they wanted the gold, Philip, the King of England, wanted all the Templar gold. I was the one that dressed all the Templars up in women's outfits and took them down to La Roche, put it on 5 sailing vessels, and came to the United States. So the Sasquatch know where the Templar gold is. Okay? Now, most people don't know what I know. I know a lot about the Templars, okay?
In your next book, huh?
That's
No,
right.
I'm not writing any more books.
Look for her YouTube videos. We put out YouTube videos on a regular basis.
Because it's easier for people to learn through videos, I think, especially about vortexes, because they're spinning and they can see them. Okay?
Beautiful.
Mary, did you refer to the Sasquatch knowing where the...
Can you hear that?
Yeah, she referred to the Sasquatch. They're multidimensional beings and they work with us and the Knights Templar and anyone who's really working with the grid. They help because they're in that multidimensional frequency. They are the connection. So if you want to work with them, you'll know when they're around. Most of the time you can smell them. So that's, but call them in and trust that they'll come and work with you.
See, they're multidimensional. And so why people can't find them is because the minute people go looking for them, they only appear when they have to correct the grid. They're the grid keepers. They only appear and then they do their work and they disappear. And they're not in physical form all the time. They can come and go dimensionally. And because they're cleaning up the earth, they smell terrible. So if you're out in the woods, something tries to hug you that smells, you know it's a Sasquatch. Okay.
If you want to call them, you go out, you can take a piece of wood and you bang it on the tree 3 times and you wait and you listen. And if they're near you, they'll answer.
Okay. Thank you, Sheila, for inviting us. We're
Thank
here to
you,
help
Mary.
the world.
Happy birthday.
Thank you guys for the best night.
It was wonderful.
Presentation.
It's wonderful. So I have asked Nicole if she could go ahead and do a closing meditation so that we can kind of sync the energy. So Nicole, would you like to go ahead?
Properly, my computer is...
Oh, there we go.
Do I sound okay?
You do.
Okay, great. So we'll go ahead and close our eyes. I've been celebrating International Women's Day all day. And
Yeah.
my meditation has been to my most favorite woman, which is Mother Earth, Gaia Sophia. So let's just feel ourselves grounding to the most sacred, holy energy, connecting to the planet with whom we are in a sacred contract with to be as she ascends, as she changes her dimension. Thank you to all of you for sharing the beautiful pieces of the puzzle that we are collectively putting together at this time for the benefit of humanity, for the evolution of consciousness, so that we can make room for our galactic brothers and sisters to walk with us on this planet. So let's allow ourselves to ground to Mother Earth. Feel yourself rooting into our sacred Mother. Good, allowing your crown chakra to move down, to open up and allow the energy to move down into the earth. And I wonder if you can feel yourself sinking into the different layers of the earth. See yourself amongst the creepy crawlies. See yourselves amongst the little dens of animals, maybe still sleeping or waking up. Feel yourself moving into the density of the bedrock. Feel yourself connecting with all potentiality that sits within the dense bedrock. Feel yourself sinking down into the crystalline layers of the earth, feeling the minerals. Good. And I wonder now if you can see yourself in a beautiful crystalline layer, a beautiful crystalline cave beneath the earth. Maybe you can notice that it's illuminated with blues and greens. You can begin to notice that there's a little river that just sneaks aside along one side of this beautiful illuminated cave. And feeling that this pure water comes from the earth's crystalline core. It's been cleansed and is available for you if it feels good for you to sink your feet into. You feel yourself coming into vibration with Mother Earth, Gaia Sophia, through this beautiful crystalline water. And if it feels good for you, you can see yourself bathing in the water, releasing anything that no longer serves you. Feeling yourself coming into alignment with the highest and best versions of yourself that are available to you right now that will serve humanity. You're feeling your sacred heart center opening and expanding with gratitude for the missions that we've accepted at this time. Just feel yourself cleansing. Go ahead if you want to notice all of our friends that are here in this sacred circle tonight. See them swimming or bathing or playing or swimming like mermaids. And just acknowledge the work that we're doing together, how we've been brought together in alignment. All of the connections, past life connections, future life connections, galactic brothers and sisters. Just really feel the sacred I am in each and every one of us. And when you're ready, just find yourself back in your chair, back in your room, back in your apartment, back in your house, back in March 2021. Inhaling nice and deeply, and when you're ready, just open up your eyes and we'll bring ourselves back onto camera just to say goodnight.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Beautiful. So thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I will send out an email to let you know exactly what's happening for next month. And if you have any questions, please get a hold of me. There's Mary's contact information still on the screen. If you're interested in contacting her, Gayle's information was up. Gayle, can you flip it back maybe one slide just in case? There we go. So now we've got Gayle's contact information as well. I'll send out the pamphlet, Mary, that you had sent me about the Holy Grail Vortex. I'll send that out to everyone tonight and ask them to link up with us. So
Perfect. Thank
beautiful. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for coming, and many blessings, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sheila?
Good night.
Hi, everybody.
I want to say something to
Happy,
Sheila.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Hey.
I'm going to say that we might come and visit you sometime in the middle of May.
Wonderful.
Yeah, she did.
Yes.
Mel and Pat, who are helping me with the Sisterhood of the Emerald Fire, we're going to do some traveling, and we want to go to Quartzsite, or no, Creststone.
Okay.
There is a Templar. The Templars came over with 3 arcs, and in Creststone there's an arc of On. So we're going to visit. Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah, we saw Dylan and I was down in Creststone when Gayle and Chad actually activated it, and the whole mountain lit up that beautiful green. It was awesome.
So there's a
So
lot.
the snow should be gone.
Yes.
The snow should be gone, and we can walk the medicine wheel.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So
I hope we can make it in May. Okay.
Okay, I'll be looking for you.
Okay. You want to
you.
send me your address, Sheila?
Of course.
Okay. I'm not too good on the computer,
Yeah.
so I lose things. Okay.
Okay, I'll send it.
Okay. Bye
Thank you.
now. Thank you all.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, Sheila, Mary, and Gayle for a great night. Woo!
Thank you, Cindy.
This
so
was
much.
freaking awesome.
I hope so.
Soak it all in, Sheila.
There we go.
Just
I gotta get
sit
my
here
address in there.
and for 3 more minutes.
I'm gonna turn off.
There we go.
I'm just kidding. Good night, you guys.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sheila.
Thank you.
Sheila, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Gayle.
you.
That was beautiful.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
It was amazing. Mary and Gayle, oh,
Yeah, we're a
thank
good
you,
team.
Sheila, for making this happen. And you guys, you were awesome, all of you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Good
And
night, everyone.
good night.
Good night.
Night.
Oh, there's the button.
Oh, man. There we go.